Yeah, part of what comes up for me when I hear Tom is this learned self-consciousness and learned hypervigilance, where I'm always referencing, am I good enough? Am I tall enough? Am I handsome enough? Am I enough? And the answer is often, no, I don't feel like I'm enough. And so what happens with this wounded boy, because a lot of our talk today, we talk about the boy, we're talking about the wounded boy. And we're also very aware that there's this beautiful boy that Rumi celebrates in a poem called The Red Shirt. He's the exuberant boy. But this wounded boy who's preoccupied all the time about not being good enough, he becomes so vigilantly self-referenced that it's hard for him to even be present with what he's doing, because there's so much self-consciousness. And what happens then is the wounds get wrapped in shame. So it's hard enough to be wounded, but then the wounds get wrapped in shame. And then the shame is that place that feels utterly and inexorably broken. We like to talk about the distinction between guilt and shame. Guilt is if I break the vase and I'm afraid Mom's going to hear about it. And shame is if I am the broken vase. It's a big difference. And so what happens with this wounded boy is he becomes the shame boy. And the shame boy develops strategic personalities to keep people back from seeing my shame. Might be a favorite one we see a lot is, I'm special. I'm more special than everybody. Or I'm intellectual, or I'm a hero, or I'm aloof, or I'm a rager, or I'm whatever. But the strategies of that shame boy is to keep everybody back. So you can't see my shame. Because if you saw my shame, I'd explode. I don't know what would happen, but I can't let anybody see that. So is this a good time to bring in the shame boy?
Yeah.
I have a poem that came through several years ago about the shame boy. And if this subject isn't familiar, I think it is with most everybody in the room, but this poem touches a little more deeply the experience of the shame boy and the shame girl. There are twisted places, so dark and so cold, places utterly broken and banished. Places where filth and despair and the gnashing teeth of blind rodents are the only surviving shadows. This is the place where the shame boy lives. This is the place where he learned to turn away from the icy noise of the world. This is the place where the sun will never touch him, or so he was told by a voice who is clearly not his friend. The voice said, want nothing, risk nothing, and never ever enter the circle. Every day the shame boy gathers dark stones by the dark banks of the dark river. And here's where the poem shifts. Ah, but the spirits of the earth, they see a different boy. They see a dreamy, deer-eyed boy playing as otters play. They see a glimmering boy immersed in the timeless dream of dragonflies and tree frogs. They say, this boy is the spirit of the hummingbird, tiniest feathered rainbow of whirling joy, the sweetest breath of God. I'm going to repeat that last part. They say, this boy is the spirit of the hummingbird, tiniest feathered rainbow of whirling joy, the sweetest breath of God. So when I'm in the shame boy, welcome, I don't hear the voice of the earth spirits, do I? I'm locked in my own prison, and I only have my own self-reference. That's why we need the wilderness, huh?
One of the things I like about this poem is toward the end it talks about there's this other boy that the shame boy is not aware of that's in himself, that these spirits that see this boy who is exuberant and has the ability to experience awe and wonder, that's the boy that we want to bring more alive in us, is that one that can still experience those. I'd like to share another poem. This is a Robert Bly poem, and it's a little bit of a shift here, but it has to do with how some parts of this boy can be active in us, even when we're not aware of it and when we're not thinking about it, but it just comes up. And the poem is called One Source of Bad Information. There's a boy in you about 3 years old who hasn't learned a thing for 30,000 years. Sometimes it's a girl.
Stop. I want to hear that again. That's too good.
There's a boy in you about 3 years old who hasn't learned a thing for 30,000 years. Wow. Sometimes it's a girl. This child had to make up its mind how to save you from death. He said things like, stay home, avoid elevators, eat only elk. You live with this child, but you don't know it. You're in the office, yes, but live with this boy at night. He's uninformed, but he does want to save your life. And he has. Because of this boy, you survived a lot. He's got 6 big ideas. 5 don't work. Right now, he's repeating them to you. So this is what we mean when we're talking about these kind of unconscious patterns that are active. The boy is active sometimes when we don't realize it, and he's telling us how to survive, but his ideas don't work.
And some of these patterns we inherited from our fathers. We didn't invent them. They just got passed on, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah.